It's a great honor to return to this forum and contribute to the American Enterprise Institute's discussions on challenges that are defining our age. For decades, the importance of transatlantic partnership was an article of faith. As President Reagan put it, preservation of a peaceful, free and democratic Europe is essential to the preservation of a peaceful, free and democratic United States. But times change. Today's world is witnessing major geopolitical shifts. Russia is waging war on continental Europe and has violated EU and NATO's airspace on a great number of occasions. This is unprecedented in recent history. China is flexing its muscles using trade interdependencies for political gain. There is one can say, anti-Western coalition building. In this new context, I am convinced that Europe must take greater responsibility for its own destiny while upholding and safeguarding the deep and enduring partnership with the US. Ladies and gentlemen, a great British statesman, Lord Palmerston, once observed that there is no such thing as permanent friends nor enemies, only permanent interests. The truth is, beyond a shared history and common values such as freedom, democracy, peace, the rule of law, the transatlantic partnership has always been based on common interests. Today, I would like to offer my reflections on the strategic interests that still bind the US and Europe together in a rapidly changing world. Firstly, I believe that peace and stability in Europe has always been in the vital economic interest of the United States. In the aftermath of the Second World War, American financing helped to rebuild Western Europe, creating a vibrant new market that helped fuel the growth of America's booming industries. And America's massive investment in Europe continues to generate remarkable returns so that today no other two regions in the world are as deeply integrated. In 2023, US-owned assets in Europe were worth an estimated $19.2 trillion, accounting for roughly 64% of corporate America's total foreign assets globally. Sales by the European affiliates of US companies reached a record high of $3.9 trillion. And we are determined to make Europe an even more attractive place to do business for American companies by cutting red tape, reducing energy costs, and eliminating the remaining barriers within Europe's single market. Transatlantic trade in goods and services has doubled over the last decade, surpassing 1.6 trillion euros in 2023. That is over 4.4 billion euros of goods and services crossing Atlantic every day, providing not only end-sale products but also critical inputs for each other's economies. These include critical inputs for the US future economy, from Scandinavia's 6G expertise and Germany's industrial robotics to Dutch chip-making machines. The US is already by far the European Union's first supplier of LNG, with 55% of our LNG coming from the US so far this year. And this share is expected to increase to around 70% in a period 2026 to 2029. Given the numbers I just mentioned, American companies and people clearly have a strong stake in the stability and success of European economy and in Europe's security. To draw a parallel, speaking on a conclusion on Ukraine-US Mineral Resources Agreement, Secretary Bessent stated his belief that the agreement was a win-win for both sides. It meant, and I quote, "The American people have a stake in the recovery of the Ukrainian economy." For US corporate interests, Europe as a market, a host of assets, and a crucial link in integrated supply chains is simply too big to ignore. Putin's aggression, his threats, his brutal rocket and Shahed drone attacks on civilians, his hybrid attacks on critical infrastructure and so on, are not only abhorrent crimes and a moral outrage, this is also bad for business. As a source of deep uncertainty, they affect the bottom line. This is a crucial consideration for US foreign policy makers to keep in mind. This brings me to the Transatlantic Security Partnership. Despite consistent calls from the US, including President Trump, to increase Europe's defense spending, many in Europe did not see urgency to act. Once the Cold War was over, we hoped for the best rather than preparing for the worst. That era of naivete came to a conclusive end in February 2022 when Russia launched its brutal full-scale invasion of Ukraine. We see today that Russia is refusing to engage in good faith negotiations for lasting peace in Ukraine, despite President Trump's efforts. On the contrary, following discussions in Alaska, Russian attacks against Ukrainian civilians have only intensified. Of course, Russia's ambitions have always extended well beyond Ukraine. In recent weeks, we have witnessed an intensification of Russian efforts to test, probe, and intimidate with consistent violations of EU and NATO airspace. We have also seen cyber attacks, sabotage, and other violations targeting key infrastructure such as airports. Moscow is actively targeting the ways through which we connect every day. European countries are taking action to respond to this reality, and we thank the US for its support. At the recent Hague summit, NATO allies committed to investing 5% of GDP annually on core defense requirements as well as defense and security-related spending by 2035. The EU has created fiscal space to help mobilize up to 800 billion euros in additional defense spending over the next 4 years. This includes the EU's new 150 billion euros SAFE instrument to finance investments in key areas such as missile defense, drones, and cybersecurity. The aim is to build by 2030 a sufficiently strong defense posture to credibly deter our adversaries and respond to any aggression. Europe's permanently higher defense spending creates scale and predictability to develop Europe's own defense industrial base. It is also a game changer for a global defense industry, unleashing a huge new source of demand. And here there is an obvious potential for cooperation. Europe needs to rearm, and the US is the world's largest supplier of advanced weapons. Of course, Europe must have complete confidence in partners that supply the arms we use to defend ourselves, especially now as Russia escalates its brinkmanship. There is no room for doubt. Signaling in this context matters, and in this sense we welcome, for example, a strong bipartisan support in the Senate for the National Defense Authorization Act. It attests to the US commitment to its Eastern European allies, including commitment to 3 years financing of the Baltic Security Initiative to further strengthen the defensive capabilities of the Baltic states. This is an important contribution towards maintaining a transatlantic partnership built on trust and comes at a pivotal moment. We hope that the final version of the bill that passes into law maintains these commitments. Because Xi Jinping, Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin are bound together by their determination to reshape the global geopolitical landscape in their favor. Ukrainians face the brutal reality of this partnership every day. Russia's war machine is sustained by North Korean conscripts, Iranian drones, and Chinese supply complicity. We know that the aspirations of this partnership and its consequences reverberate well beyond Kyiv. Now ask yourselves this, why does the Kremlin invest so many resources on social media efforts to plant division between Europe and the US and within our societies? Well, because they stand to benefit most from the West being distracted and divided by the war. Actions speak louder than the words. Supporting Ukraine until a just and lasting peace is reached sends a signal that the US and the EU are willing and able to confront challenges of our vital strategic interests together. Not just from Russia, but whenever they emerge. Take the Arctic Ocean, a new area of geopolitical competition. As it becomes more navigable for longer, enhanced US-European cooperation can help counter Russian and Chinese influence. It is also about capacity and experience in operating in the Arctic. Finland, for example, can provide a know-how to deliver icebreaker ships at a large scale and at acceptable cost. I do not know where the next crisis will emerge and what form will it take, but I do know that it is in our mutual interest to be on the same side when it arrives, and that our adversaries are working every single day against that. Scale matters more than ever. The US can deliver scale, and the EU can also deliver scale, but only together we can deliver an ineluctably large scale. Europe now recognizes that our shared prosperity and way of life depend on maintaining our security. We are finally answering to the call to permanently increase our defense spending and to develop our defense industry. In doing so, we are stepping up to the plate, investing to become a more equal and reliable security partner for the United States. Maintaining security is a burden best shared, both to reduce its cost to the US and to improve its efficiency. So, in the Arctic Circle, the North Atlantic, or even South China Sea, we have a joint interest and in working together to counter threats. Throughout the Cold War, the US-led international order and the alliances it maintained helped to ensure the US held its advantage and eventually emerged victorious. Today we face another formidable challenger. China has made remarkable strides, either rapidly catching up or even outperforming the US and the EU in certain economic and technological domains. In effectively competing with China, unilateralism has clear limits, even for the United States. On the other hand, the US, acting with the support of allies, generates advantages that China cannot match alone. In practical terms, leveraging these partnerships can maximize our capacities in everything from producing ships and artillery shells to limiting the spread of advanced technologies to rivals. The EU stands ready to assure greater responsibilities in consolidating an international order that can maximize our advantages. And to tell you the truth, there is a high demand for such leadership. Over the last year, we have been busy strengthening and diversifying our trade network, reaching new deals with Mercosur, Mexico, Switzerland, and most recently Indonesia, while advancing negotiations with India, Thailand, the United Arab Emirates, among others. This trade network has the potential to form the basis of a coalition of like-minded partners and advance common strategic interests. We believe that enhancing trade deepens our partnerships also in other areas. Europe believes that broad partnerships and cooperation based on shared interests can make us more than the sum of our parts. To conclude, ladies and gentlemen, given the extent and nature of our joint interests, I believe, to paraphrase the great Mark Twain, that the reports on the Transatlantic Partnership's demise have been greatly exaggerated. But we must not lose sight of what we can achieve together and stand to lose apart. I hope that I convince you that our partnership does not belong to the past. It remains vital today and in the future. Both our shared history and values underpinning our partnership and our mutual interests must continue to push us together. Thank you very much.